angels, it's Hailey Reese, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am so grateful that you are here, and I do hope that you are having an absolutely magical morning, afternoon, or night, whatever it is for you when this video finally reaches you. My God, do we have something to dive into today. If you've been here on my channel recently, we've been diving into some of the strangest, most terrifying, unexplainable glitches in the Matrix or overlapping of parallel universes or just an alternate reality. But today, we are diving into a theory that is much deeper than it appears on surface level. Today we are diving into something that I will warn you now is absolutely mind-blowing. I've been diving down some crazy rabbit holes recently, and believe me when I say all of those videos are coming here to my channel. But it felt like we really needed to start with today's video. We are told that a lot of what we see online is BS, made up stories conceived by media propaganda, but what I am sharing with you today is more than an online theory and may just change everything you think you know. I want you to take a look at your life. Really, truly imagine your life. All the things you've done since you were born, everyone that you've come to know, all the things that you love about the world that you call yours. Maybe you had the most beautiful childhood, got the degree and job you dreamed of, met the love of your life, and through that love, created a family you were so proud of. No matter how hard life gets, you know that you have each other. You have your purpose. You have everything you have ever wanted right there in front of you. Everything is perfect until suddenly something seems off. A piece of furniture catches your attention, and no one seems to notice it. But you can't unsee it. And then you open your eyes. Suddenly, you're alone in a hospital room. There's no husband, no kids. You're told that you were in an accident, and for a week, you've been in a coma. But you know that can't be true. They'll call you crazy, and you'll mourn a world that you're told never existed. And you'll start to feel crazy, finding yourself on Google, until suddenly you learn you aren't the only one. Because 13 years ago, a man shared his story of his stolen life and his struggle to carry on without his family. Today, we explore the lamp theory, a subject so crazy, it's bound to consume you. I warn you that once you learn this information, you will forever question your own reality. But ask yourself this: what's scarier, waking up to the truth or staying asleep forever? A parallel lamp / awoken by a lamp was originally posted 13 years ago. This experience shared by the user detailed an entire life that they had lived after suffering a head injury, sharing how they fell into a serious depression and mourning after discovering that family and life never existed. All this began with a lamp appearing off and leading the man back to what is believed to be his original world. The post went crazy, with thousands of people asking how something like this could be properly explained. Was there some sort of medical or scientific explanation as far as what this man had experienced? I mean, surely there must be. But then suddenly, countless experiences began surfacing online from others who claim to have experienced an entire life that they're now told never existed. It seems as though people are experiencing these alternate lives while going into a coma, falling unconscious, or even having near-death or out-of-body experiences. We've talked a lot in the past about how time itself is an earthly, human creation. So is it possible that people are slipping into an alternate dimension, another reality, and living an entire decade? While it seems only moments or weeks or months have passed here? And what happens to those lives when they overlap in such an intense way? Today we're going to explore the original post, another post off of it that absolutely blew my mind, and the truth behind the lamp theory. Could we all be experiencing it now? And what would you do if you suddenly woke up to find that all of this was nothing but a dream? So let's get into the original post. And then let's dive into why this is much scarier than just some online made up story. So again, this was originally posted around 13 years ago, and I believe it was a comment on a thread asking something along the lines of, have you ever felt extremely attached to somebody in a dream? And this experience begins by saying, my last semester at a certain college, I was assaulted by a football player for walking where he was trying to drive. Note, he was 325 pounds and I was 120 pounds. While unconscious on the ground, I lived a different life. I met a wonderful young lady. She made my heart skip a beat and my face red. I pursued her for months and dispatched a few jerk boyfriends before I finally won her over. After 2 years, we got married, and almost immediately, she bore me a daughter. I had a great job, and my wife didn't have to work outside of the house. When my daughter was 2, my wife bore me a son. My son was the joy of my life. I would walk into his room every morning before I left for work and doted on both him and my daughter. One day, while sitting on the couch, I noticed that the perspective of the lamp was odd, like inverted. It was still in 3D, but just wrong. It was a square lamp base, red with gold trim on 4 legs, and a white square shade. I was transfixed. I couldn't look away from it. I stayed up all night staring at it. The next morning, I didn't go to work. Something was not right about that lamp. I stopped eating. I left the couch only to use the bathroom at first. Soon, I stopped that too, as I wasn't eating or drinking. I stared at the lamp for 3 days before my wife got really worried. She had someone come and try to talk to me. But this time, my cognizance was breaking up and my wife was freaking out. She took the kids to her mother's house just before I had my epiphany. The lamp is not real. The house is not real. My wife, my kids, none of that is real. The last 10 years of my life are not effing real. The lamp started to grow wider and deeper. It was still inverted dimensions. It took up my entire perspective, and all I could see was red. I heard voices, screams, all kinds of weird noises, and I became aware of pain. A shit ton of pain. The first words I said were, "I'm missing teeth," and opened my eyes. I was laying on my back on the sidewalk, surrounded by people I didn't know. Lots were freaking out, and I was completely confused. At some point, a cop scooped me up, dragged me and walked me across the sidewalk and grass, and threw me in the back of the cop car. I was still confused. I was taken to the hospital by the cops. Seems he didn't want to wait for the ambulance to arrive and give CT scans. I went through about 3 years of horrid depression. I was grieving the loss of my wife and children and dealing with the knowledge that they never existed. I was scared that I was going insane as I would cry myself to sleep, hoping I would see her in my dreams. I never have, but sometimes I see my son. Usually just a glimpse out of my peripheral vision. He is perpetually 5 years old, and I can never hear what he says. I've had many personal messages describing similar experiences and 3 posters stating such experiences are impossible. I'd say more research needs to be done on brain functions. Pre-med students, don't assume you know everything. People went crazy with this. Of course, there were people who believed that it was just some made-up online story, or perhaps just something strange that had happened within his brain after suffering such a traumatic injury. But then reports started surfacing of others having lived entirely different lives while not being cognitively present here. And that's when people started to wonder if there was more to this story than just an online scare. This led so many people to explore the idea of what really happens to us when we lose consciousness. What happens to our soul? What happens to us when it seems as though there's no brain activity here, or at the very least, as said, no consciousness. So the theories seemed to be as follows. Did he just imagine an entirely made-up life while he was unconscious? Did he visit a universe parallel to ours that was different, where he had this wife and these kids, and then seemingly was transported back here? Was it a past life, or perhaps a glimpse into his future? Again, this was 13 years ago, so I'd be curious to know where this individual is now and how their life panned out. Did they end up getting married? Did they have children? And did those children remind them of the kids they were mourning after waking up? But as I mentioned, all of these experiences started coming in. People who experienced entirely different lives while in a coma, or having experienced a completely different world while unconscious, or having a near-death experience. One user shared an experience where 3 boys pushed things a little too far, and one of them had a shocking encounter. Basically, in this experience, there were 3 teenage boys joking around and wrestling with one another. They talked about how the 3 of them had decided to have 2 of them do a bear hug and knock out one of the other. The individual who was knocked out saying, "I couldn't breathe and soon became unconscious. It was like waking from a dream. This world was a dream, and I awoke to a reality more real and vivid than this world is now. I saw the illusion of this existence on Earth dispelled. It faded away, and I didn't regret it. Soon, I found myself in the real world, in a huge city that I already knew. My memory seemed to return. Yes, I had gone to sleep and dreamed of a little place called Earth, and now I was awake. That was a silly dream, I thought, and I soon forgot all about Earth. I continued my life, just like before I fell asleep. I lived in that fantastic city for years and years. Centuries, it seemed. I lived there so long that I completely forgot all about Earth. For hundreds of years, I had forgotten Earth. If someone was to ask me about it, I couldn't remember, since it had happened so long ago. Then one day, I was walking into a store. Suddenly, a confusing loss of direction hit me, and I felt myself falling. Suddenly, I opened my eyes to see strange leaves, the sky, and the other boys looking at me. Where was I now? How did I get here? What had happened? And then I remembered. Hundreds of years ago, I fell asleep and found myself here. This place was called Earth and was part of a weird dream. I must have fallen asleep again. Slowly, my earthly memory returned. I asked the boys how long I had been unconscious. They said only a few minutes. They asked me what happened, and I told them I didn't want to talk about it. So, what world is real? I mean, perhaps they all are. What if the very world that you are existing in right now was never yours to begin with? Or at least not where you started? It really does make you ask yourself how deeply you want to investigate the inconsistencies around you. Because now we know what happens when you look at a lamp a little too long. I have talked about countless times here on my channel that we are spiritual beings having an earthly experience. And whether we believe it or not, it seems as though there are infinite worlds in which different versions of ourselves exist in. Is it possible that people are tapping into these other worlds? A couple of users thought it was interesting to imagine what had happened to him in the other world. Did he mentally check out and end up in some sort of a facility as his wife was concerned about him? Or did something happen to him in this world? Or perhaps did he just switch back and that version of him continued on as if the lamp never happened? I have been heading down some crazy rabbit holes where glitches in the matrix, overlapping universes, and parallel dimensions are concerned. And let's just say we are just scraping the surface and just getting started into our discoveries. But I can't lie to you and say that it doesn't freak me out a little bit that the deeper I dive, the more things in my world may appear different than they should be. It makes you ask yourself, if you looked a little bit closer, how much of our world isn't as it seems? This particular experience is fascinating to me because when we look at the fact that the individual in the lamp theory or in the lamp experience suffered a traumatic brain injury. There was an accident that kickstarted all of this entire experience. And it kind of led me down the rabbit hole of quantum immortality, the concept in which you have died in one universe and have immediately transported to a universe so similar to yours, but yet ever so slightly different. Could this be an instance of quantum immortality where he had been transported to an alternate reality similar to his but different? He now met his wife, had his children. But what shifted it in sending him back? Again, plenty of people who have had out-of-body experiences, specifically during near-death experiences, have claimed it felt like hours, if not days, weeks, months, years passed, and upon their returning to Earth, only moments in time had passed by. So it makes you wonder, had he lived a decade in this world and was suddenly transported back before anybody here could notice? This is truly one of those experiences where all I want is to track down the individual in the experience and ask them how their life played out afterwards and where things went next. It also makes you look at those unconscious or in comas in hospitals a little differently and wondering where they truly are, where their soul and their consciousness is in those moments where the earthly shell is seemingly vacant. It really is a fascinating subject that I intend to dive deeper into. But before we could explore this even deeper, we had to uncover what exactly the lamp theory is. I can say one thing for certain: there is something powerful shifting here on Earth. People are awakening to a lot more, and the blinders are being pulled off. So it makes me want to ask you, are you prepared to stay sleeping, or are you ready to wake up? And if you do, are you ready for what you'll learn in doing so? That's a really big question that I'm not even sure I could answer. This is one of those theories that you really have to put yourself into the shoes of the individual sharing the experience and ask yourself, how would you feel if you woke up suddenly and realized everyone you've come to know and love didn't exist, or at least not in the way that you've been existing with them? And how many people have been labeled as crazy for having an insane experience that we just haven't been able to fully find the answers to yet, or at the very least, haven't been released yet. That is basically the lamp theory, the idea that a man among many lived a life that they're now told never existed. A life that felt like years and family milestones passing, only to come to find out moments had passed and you were simply unconscious. What would you do if you discovered this, and why do you believe these things are happening? Again, this experience was first shared 13 years ago, but with it gaining recent popularity, there are countless experiences where this is concerned, and more are coming to light. So I want to know from you what you think, and where should we dig next? Make sure to comment all of that down below as our search for answers continues. Well, you guys, that is basically it for today's video. Again, these videos are just getting you guys familiar with certain popular theories so that when we dive even deeper into this, you will know what everyone's been talking about, and we can open up the doors and go even further and deeper past it. So make sure to comment down below what it is that you want to see next. If you guys are enjoying these videos from me, make sure to go ahead and click that subscribe button. I am uploading every single day this month, so you definitely don't want to miss out. And again, if you have any rabbit holes you want me to dive down, make sure to comment them down below. And with all of that out of the way, we are just getting started. If you did enjoy today's video, please make sure to take a moment to give it a big thumbs up. It really helps both me and my channel so I can know what videos that you are enjoying, and therefore in turn make even more of them. And that is it for today's video. Remember, my loves, do all things with kindness. And until tomorrow, I love you. Bye, guys.